Hi everybody, we are standing in front of Balanced Rock in Arches National Park. Arches National Park, as stated before, was made a national park in 1971. However, in order for it to become a national park, a couple people needed to explore the area. One of the people was a news editor, Lauren Bish Taylor, and he explored the area with John Williams. They explored it and tried to make it publicized through the newspaper, and word spread, and Alexander Ringhofer, a prospector, was working on the Grand Western Railroad, and he decided to publicize it because a lot of people would use the railroad because of the unique land formations in Arches National Park. He brought word to President Herbert Hoover, and Herbert Hoover signed the presidential proclamation to make it a national monument in 1929. And then later on, as the boundaries were expanded in 1971, it became a national park. As you can see with Balanced Rock, there looks like there's a huge rock balanced on top of a tiny pedestal. The big rock on the top is called a capstone. This is formed because of weathering and erosion when a fin was created, and slowly through weathering and erosion, the sandstone that is easier to erode is more on the bottom, and that capstone stays on top of the softer sandstone. While the rock is eroding, the pressure will go onto one side and it'll slowly rock back and forth. However, eventually, the rock will become too heavy. Balanced rock actually weighs 3,577 tons. That's the weight of an icebreaker ship, or approximately 27 blue whales. So the size of this balanced rock is huge. Earlier on in history, there used to be a mini balanced rock that toppled over in the 1900s, the very late 1900s. We will now go on our adventure to see more of this beautiful feature of Balanced Rock. So, when you're hiking, here's a safety precaution. When you see rocks stacked like this, it means you are on the right path. So let's keep going. We now have a different angle of Balanced Rock. You can see how there's a skinny portion right below the capstone of the rock. And then as it gets wider, you can see that that's the pedestal that was formed. As you can see in the rock, you can see how there's little waves in there. That is due to faulting and folding, and how the erosion, it kind of tilts and bends with the weight of the capstone. Hi everybody, we're still on our adventure. As you can see, this is another angle of Balanced Rock, but on this angle you can see how there are lots and lots of rocks that have eroded and fallen away from the original formation. You can see it on this side that there's smaller rocks and bigger rocks, and you can see that there's cracks along the formation. That is due to when rain falls and freezes and expands, and it cracks the rock open. And so eventually this rock, the capstone, will be so heavy that it'll fall off, but that probably won't be for another, million years. And this is the best part of Balanced Rock, guys. Look, I'm holding it in my hand. Hi guys, we are back at Arches National Park. Today we are going to be seeing a couple arches. They call it turret arch. There's an arch right there, you can't see it quite yet, but my family calls it Okie Dokie Arch, and we will show you why in just a minute.
It's not like they can take pictures.
It's a mixture of cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria.
Cyanobacteria mosses.
Like
lichens.
cyanide?
fungi, and algae. This remarkable community provides seed beds for other plants, absorb moisture, produce nutrients, and help prevent erosion. In its developmental stages, and nearly invisible. The crust is so fragile that one footstep can wipe out years of growth. Please stay on the designated trails to perfect the living soil. We found a massive patch of the dirt. The biological black dirt. That's a black crust, and that they said one footstep could degrade years of formation. So this is huge. It slowly grows. It's a combination of moss and a lot of other stuff, and cyanobacteria. Thank you. Cyanobacteria, and
we can
it slowly grows. Right? It's a great biological feature of Arches National Park. As you can see at this point, you can see what they call as the north window. This almost looks like a bridge because it's a flat part of it, but it's also an arch. These arches are made out of Jurassic Entrada sandstone. Again, that is Jurassic Entrada sandstone. This sandstone was formed in the Jurassic period of the geologic time scale. But it was buried, and then through faulting and folding of the earth, because arches, there's a huge salt pile and salt layer. It is very unstable formation. We'll talk more about this formation later on, but it makes the bottom of these rocks very unstable and weak, so it's easier to erode, and therefore creates these arches and windows inside these ginormous fins of Jurassic Entrada sandstone. You see that this fin has this arch-looking style. This is a teenager arch. It is in the beginnings, okay, not quite the beginnings, it's not completely flat, but you can see that there's a dome, there's a hole beginning to be eroded. It is a teenager arch. One day, it'll probably look like windows. And that is really cool. Guys, welcome back to our adventure. We have the option of seeing 3 great arches, or windows. They call these next two North Window and South Window. We're gonna hike up the trail, and then we're gonna see what my family's favorite arch is. Turret Arch. We call it Okie Dokie Arch. And remember, this formation is made out of Jurassic Entrada sandstone. It makes up arches. Welcome back to our adventure. We have made it to the North Window. They call them windows because you can see the beautiful view of Arches National Park. Again, this is Jurassic Entrada sandstone. When wind blows through here, you can probably hear the wind. It erodes the bottom of the arch because this sandstone is weaker than all the rest of the sandstone because water seeps down and stays at the bottom of the arch. Okay guys, I'm here with my family. As you can see, even little toddlers can come to Arches National Park and experience the great geologic features of here. And she is laughing and enjoying this aspect, even though it's real cold. Hey everybody, we are at the South Window. As you can see, there are curves along the rocks. Those are where the earth began to be unsteady because under Arches National Park, there's a huge salt field where an ocean once came and then was evaporated out and it was deposited over. And so therefore, all these rock formations began to collapse and create faults and folds. Okay everybody, we are at my family's favorite arch. This is just one view of it. Up close it doesn't look like that. But as you can tell, if I go like this, saying, hey, it's okay, it looks like an okie dokie. So we call it Okie Dokie Arch. However, Arches calls it Turret Arch. So if you want to experience some marvelous joys of Okie Dokie and Turret Arch, come to Arches National Park. So we are now at what is called Double Arch. It used to be called Twin Bow Bridge, or the Jug Handles. This is a pothole arch formation. It started out as a pothole and water would seep down into it, and the pools of water would collect slowly and deepen the pothole. Over time, water seeps through the cliff face, forming an alcove. Eventually, the enlarging pothole meets the roof of the expanding alcove, creating an opening. The arch matures as erosion continues. So this arch used to be a pothole, and as water created it, it created two arches for the water to flow outside of it. Therefore, we now have twin arches. Hey guys, we've made it to Double Arch. As you can see, there is the arch. You can see how the water streams, the different colors, how the water dripped into here and created this pool and slowly eroded away the rock until it created two arches. If you look over here, you can see that there are layers of rock. This is where the rocks were deposited through geologic time, and they created different layers of different sediments, and that is called deposition. As you can see, this specimen of biologicalness is making sand angels. So we are standing on this massive mound of petrified sand dune. This is a cool geographic area as you walk up to Arches, but the specifically Delicate Arch. It is one of the coolest parts of this hike. Hi everyone, we have made it to Delicate Arch. This is one of the most famous arches in Arches National Park. As you can see where the fin began and has slowly eroded away, and how it comes up and it loops all the way around. And there's this big bowl where the water has eroded it. And then the most famous Delicate Arch where there's that little skinny point and then the big part of the base. And this is Delicate Arch.